What is an orderly tangle? In the 1970s and 80s, Alan Holden described symmetric arrangements of linked polygons, which he called regular polylinks or orderly tangles. The idea behind symmetrically rotating and translating the faces of a platonic solid is applicable to both sculpture and puzzles and now 3D print. Mathematician George Hart has a wonderful write-up about this and has produced a plethora of material on orderly tangles, and I will link to that also in the description of this video. So we're going to create an orderly tangle of 6 squares to start. Alright, so we'll go up here in our standard primitives and we'll select box, change the creation method from box to cube, and then in our keyboard entry we'll go over here to length and we'll type in 20.0 millimeters, and that should reflect also in the height and width. And then just click create, and there we have our object in the center of the screen. Okay, the next step will be to go here to your add an edit poly on top of the box and immediately go down to the edge mode and hit Control A to select all the edges. Then in the edit edges rollout, click the split button, and that has separated all of our planar faces on this box into separate elements. Alright, Control A to select everything once again. Hold down Shift while you select the Inset tool up here in the graphite modeling ribbon to bring up the caddy. Since we'll be outputting this possibly for a 3D print, we'll go with an inset amount of 2.0 millimeters for our base thickness. Alright, just accept that and go ahead and delete those inner selections. So now we're left with this hollow cube. Alright, and we can Control A to select everything once again. And we'll switch now by tapping E to our rotate gizmo. And just make sure your reference coordinate system is set to local. Alright, go down here to the bottom and make sure you enable the absolute type in transform panel. And then over here in the edit poly modifier, change the edit poly mode from model to animate. I'll explain more about why we did that later. Alright, now down here in the Z parameter of your absolute type in transform panel, we'll go ahead and type in a value of -13.0 and hit enter, and that has rotated all of our individual elements by 13 degrees. Next step will be to add a push modifier on top of that, and we can begin playing with developing our tangle here. And as you can see, as I move the value parameter in and out, each of the elements start to pass through each other. So let's get a tight shot on this corner up here. Alright, we'll just rotate so that we can see it clearly. And we'll move our push value right until we see these two outer edges just barely touching each other. Okay? So now they're not, you have maybe a hair's breadth of an intersection going on here, but that's okay. We can just tap on that push value until you see that they're just barely touching each other. You don't want any space between those two edges, okay? And that allows us to have a nice tight fit for our tangle, which is what we want. Next step is to make it a solid by adding the shell modifier. Now when you first add the shell modifier, you may see an outer amount enabled, and this would give you a result something like this with everything intersecting. Just go ahead and dial down the outer amount to 0, and we'll begin to play with the inner amount. We'll zoom in on this corner once again, and we'll just push that inner amount and keep pushing it until we see the inner amount shell start to intersect on the other side. Alright, and we'll just stop it when it's very, very close here. Alright, so those two edges right here should be just touching each other. Now, as you can see on the other side, that's caused a little deeper recess to happen here, an intersection is starting to occur. Alright, so we can go back down in the push modifier and we could just reduce that value until they're just touching once again. And then over here on the other side, we'll go back up to the shell modifier and we'll reduce that shell amount until that one also is just touching those two edges. Now that's a tight fit right there, and that's what we're looking for. So I've ended with an inner amount on my shell modifier of 1.64 millimeters, and my push modifier is at negative 3.9 millimeters. And that's given me a perfect fit with a rotation of 13 degrees. Alright, so here's our orderly tangle. Now the reason I've suggested that we use the animate mode is because with these orderly tangles, you can always go back down into the edit poly modifier, and since you haven't committed to that transformation, that rotation transformation, if you wanted to make any changes or just play with the settings and come up with different tangles, all you have to do is hit cancel, and it'll reset that rotation value back to 0 for you. And then you can go back down into your Z panel down here in your type in transform and just start playing with the rotation, just like this. Just with the spinner, just keep spinning up and down until you reach a rotation value that you're happy with. And as you can see, this allows us to maintain a procedural workflow with the modifier stack here in 3dsmax. And that makes it a lot easier to come up with different kinds of tangles with different rotational values, because you can always just cancel out the rotation if you're not happy with it, or you can't find a good match, and you can just cancel it out and start again from 0. And just makes it a lot easier to come up with different tangles and or to perfect the tangle that you're after. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Again, we can then collapse this entire thing and export it as an STL and send it off to Shapeways to be 3D printed. If you check out my Shapeways store, I have plenty of these up there already printed that you can order. I'll put a link in the description. You'll also be supporting me and the channel if you purchase something from Shapeways there from my store. So I truly appreciate it. Otherwise, just have fun. If you guys make something that you're happy with, I'd love to see it. I might feature it here on my channel. So please contact me and let me know how you did with this. I may have another video out very soon showing how to do this with another platonic solid. There's a little bit of a different procedure and technique to do it with the triangles, but I'll have a video for that. And I really appreciate if you click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support, guys. I can't tell you enough how you've helped this channel grow, and it's from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it, so thank you very much. And I'll see you guys again soon with another video. Bye for now.